uncertainty and rapid change that we're experiencing right now. So I'd like to first start by introducing our panelists who are just terrific. We have directly from Chicago, Mark Tamura, who is Director of Quality and Transformation at Morningstar. Marco has served the company for over 12 years. He's responsible for driving transformational initiatives across the organization, especially to help shape and implement RPA and other automation, as well as enhance the impact of Morningstar research. Now, just below Marco, we have Rajiv Jain, who is coming directly from Bangalore, India, which is like midnight in Bangalore right now, and he's here with us. We're very grateful for that. Rajiv is an accomplished leader of large and complex operations and an expert in operational excellence with over 30 years of experience across manufacturing, shared services, and financial services. Currently, he's the head of finance global operations at Hewlett Packard. He has the unique distinction of being a certified quality leader and a certified master training for Lean Six Sigma from GE. Additionally, he has the honor of being the first executive belt at HP. He has a passion for coaching and developing leaders and is immensely proud of the people he has helped grow over the years. And then we have Brandon Knott, directly from Seattle. And Brandon is the Senior Vice President of Product for UiPath, focusing on attended automation and driving the A Robot for Every Person initiative. Before joining UiPath, Brandon ran operations for a top 50 independent mortgage lender, where he was a UiPath customer himself. Brandon takes a holistic approach to digital transformation that brings humans and technology together seamlessly. I am so proud and honored to have you here with us, taking your time of your incredibly busy schedules. You are some of the best in the industry, and bringing it all together just makes this panel incredible in my view. So I would like you to start by just giving you a bit of a personal and professional perspective on what the last few months has been for you, at an individual level and a professional level, with all the disruption that's going on, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will. I'm going to start with Marco, just a quick snippet, and then we go around on that.
Sure, great, thank you, Jose. So, I guess from a personal level, obviously our global company has all been working remotely since March. I've only been in the office a few times since we broke away to grab a few things. So working from home, of course, I have a pretty good home environment. So I will say I'm somewhat blessed in that regard, but still navigating a lot of the personal challenges that come with not being able to access all the things that we like. I was actually able to plan a quick wedding during the COVID period that was successful and safe. A smaller wedding, which I will say was kind of a blessing in disguise, because it was kind of a direction I would have liked to go pre-COVID, so it worked out. But it was very very successful. We had a great time, and that definitely tested our project management skills a little bit to put together a celebration during this period. And then I think, like a lot of folks, I'm considering the urban exodus maybe a little quicker than I would have. I love living downtown Chicago, and it's been, like I said, very kind of comfortable so far, and I can't complain. But there's definitely kind of more of, I would say, a desire possibly to be in a suburb environment sooner than before, just because of some of the advantages you can't take advantage of in the city now, that I'm sure a lot of other people are thinking about. As far as Morningstar and some of the work that we're doing, my role hasn't changed a ton. We're a global company. We've already been doing a lot of interacting virtually. We were already leveraging Zoom and virtual meetings for quite a while, and doing a lot of kind of off-cycle meetings to manage time zones with Europe, Asia, and the U.S. But we still had to recognize that a lot of new folks are going to be working from home. We had to establish new committees. We had to help facilitate a lot of the initiatives that are going to help support employees while we probably react to this in a more permanent environment. We recognize that things are going to change probably for the long haul, as far as maybe a hybrid work from home model, and adjusting some of our physical office spaces and some of the ways that we collaborate. So we've helped organize some committees that I'll talk about that have isolated and prioritized a few tools and methods we can focus on as we're all working from home. We've uh, already been focused on automation for a few years, as was mentioned in my intro, but definitely thinking about it at another level, a lot of more team interest as we've not necessarily been in a position where we've need to manage with less resources, but as we continue to grow and we haven't changed those initiatives, there's even more of a focus on automation in these times. And then finally, really thinking more about how we can self-serve our clients. I think that's going to be something else that gets more focus in all industries in the coming months and years. And it's definitely an area that we're putting a little more attention to in the last couple of months than we necessarily were prior to all of this happening. So there's just a few tidbits of kind of where our focus is heading during these times. And I'll shift it over to Rajiv.
Terrific.
Thank you,
Congratulations
Marco.
again, Marco, on this big life
Thank you.
event. Rajiv.
Yes, thank you, Jose. So great to be here today, and thank you for the kind introduction, Jose. I just want to add that in terms of my that was about me, but just a bit about my team. So we are a group of about 1,000 finance professionals, and we keep the HP Incorporated financial machine humming by, we receive all the cash and apply it into our books. We pay all our vendors, and we pay all our employees, and we make sure that everything goes on smooth. So when COVID hit, personal, professional, both situations were very interesting to manage. Personally, I was traveling in the US on a personal visit, and we were watching the escalation of the COVID situation and decided to cut our visit short, came back home early. And it was a good decision because the very next day I had to decide to work from home completely for my entire group globally. And it kind of worked out that I was not on vacation. So, that was on the personal side. Professionally, we've been proud to keep the machine humming and keep moving forward on all of our day-to-day as well as our strategic goals. But I found this event as a once in a lifetime, hopefully once in a lifetime event of a lot of learning. It reminded me of conversations like, most of the businesses in the world really focus on profits. Everyone does, right? And all the good ones focus on people as well. So these are the two P's. And then I got reminded of what our founders, Bill and Dave, said in terms of, if you're just focused on profits, ultimately you're going to be a big burden on the society. So you have to really focus on the third P, which is planet. And this event really forces us to think about how the planet situations can impact everyone, right? So professionally, I'm learning that, because of COVID situation, your business could gain in the short term. If you're in digital entertainment, like us in the PC business, we really gain short term, right? Or you could lose in the short term, like in our printing business, we have that challenge. All the print is moving out of offices, and it's never going to be very quickly coming back. But really, if you think long term, any negative impact on planet is going to impact every business negatively. There is no choice, So we really have to make sure that we use the power of technology, digital and automation, intelligent automation, to do something good for all the three Ps. I do believe very strongly that it is possible to leverage all these technologies to really make an impact on all the three Ps. So just a couple of quick examples to share for you, right? I mean, as the print in the offices kind of took a big hit, HP as a company decided to, push the instant ink program now. What is instant ink? It's supply of ink to your place of work or stay wherever you have on a subscription basis. IoT enabled, technology driven, and you get your next cartridge before you know you need it because the machine knows and it communicates. And I think we have been pushing very hard on that. And while people are working from home, they should never get interrupted. Closer home to my own group, like we had to figure out how do we now communicate with the 1,000 people globally in a seamless way, become closer to each one of them, and really don't miss a beat in our routine as well as in our innovation. So we ran a very interesting hackathon. We called it IntelliFest, which brought everyone competing with each other, building intelligent automation projects, including RPA, including analytics, including Python, to solve a problem, and then present in front of our CFO and CTO. And that was a hit. I mean, in the terms that everyone really enjoyed that experience and learned in the process. So I think we're all trying to innovate how we manage the things professionally. And so far it's working, but I think we hope this situation ends soon. But as businesses, as innovators, we'll probably keep finding alternatives. So
very good, Rajiv. Thank you for that.
Conversation here today.
Thank you for that, Rajiv. Brandon, tell us a little bit about life in Seattle, work with this new world order, what it has been like.
Thanks. It's really interesting because I think for the first time, at least for me, personal and professional are overlapping like never before, right? I used to think about work-life balance. Now it's like muddied waters of work and life. And, we find ourselves sitting in front of the screen for 10, 12 hours, and you stop at some point and say, what's happening here? What new skills do I need to bring to bear in order to manage the fact that I have no commute time, so I can work more, and my lunch breaks are super fast, so I can work more, and we have to find some new techniques. And for me, at least, I think as many folks sitting at home in an office or maybe not in an office, I can be interrupted at any time. In fact, I have a 100% chance of needing an emergency mute at some point in time during this call while my children do something, right? That's unexpected. And a 50% chance that one of them will come running through the door. And I think a year ago, this was terrifying. But now somehow it's humanized all of us, and we're recognizing that we're all kind of in this together, and we're all making compromises. So I think just on that personal professional angle, that blur has been challenging, but there is some upside to it, and I do think that this commonality is helped us. And one of the ways that manifests, I think, is just the communication. I mean, as it was mentioned earlier with the Zoom calls and being prepared to move to this digital way of communicating. And, in some senses, it's been an easy transition because these are not net new technologies, but still losing that direct human-to-human interaction is extremely hard. And sometimes I think we underestimate how important those direct connections are, whether it's going to a whiteboard with a group of people and having that creative energy in the room, or even with friends and family, not being able to have that connection. So I think as some of the big learnings for us is that as we move more and more into these digital forms of communication, into automation, there's ironically an even bigger focus on the human side of all of this, similar to Rajiv, your point there. And I think as we explore this conversation, we're going to see more threads of automation not taking away the human's role in the workforce, but really unlocking the human's role.
Very good. Those are awesome perspectives. And as a matter of fact, I want to start right with paying tribute to the audience here, who are asking questions even before the session started. So I certainly had a number of questions that I could ask you, but forget about my questions because it doesn't matter. It's their questions that matters most. And I want to go straight to Vipul Gupta, and I want to encourage everybody else on the call to make sure that you're going to the app and ask your questions, because I'm going to get as many as possible directly from there. Because if we can get answers to the questions that add the most value to your context, that's what we want to do. So Vipul says, hello, this seems to be a very interesting topic. I would be interested in knowing the panel's point of view on the best technological investment for 2021. And I think part of this question is, hey, nobody predicted 2020. There are a lot of technologies that are being used now. And to a certain extent, technologies have been accelerated because of the shift. And so what should we be expecting in 2021? What do you think will be, from a technological point of view, what 2021 will look like?
Well, I would just want to say, like, I mean, it depends on your business context as well to some extent, but the human angle of it is very relevant, right? Any business you are in right now, you're dealing with the same human challenge. And therefore, the technologies which are bringing people closer together, the technologies which are including or driving inclusion in the diversity we have, the technologies which are really helping you innovate and collaborate even from a distance, those will really make a mark. And right now, those are fantastic investments. Uh, you know, so I would think that's the first step, right? And then obviously, as per your business context, it is anything which brings your customer closer to you, without going physically to him or her, is absolutely critical. And the third, pretty quickly, I would touch. I mean, the digital additive manufacturing with HP is going on, right? I mean, we had a lot of success in building parts immediately, millions of parts to be given to the healthcare workers and the industry as the COVID hit. I think so. Technologies like this, which are digital, additive, which don't create waste on the planet, will be fantastic and best investments. Not just for 1 year, maybe for a long term.
Very good. Brandon and Marco, any perspectives there on what you see happening in 2021? Is there more of a consolidation of new technologies or of existing technologies, or it's some new technologies that you can see coming up? Marco, your audio is not coming through. Do a check there just to make sure you're not.
Yeah, no, I
That's all right.
apologize. Yeah, I'd echo a lot of Rajiv's comments. I think it really depends on your maturity level within certain areas. You have to kind of do it depending on where your needs are, what will help you be more productive. If a company hasn't already taken its path towards automation, I will definitely advocate for stepping into the RPA arena and taking advantage of some of the opportunities to Brandon's point, to kind of take some of the manual workflow out of the human and let us focus on our more value added activities. Like I mentioned before, we have some kind of work from anywhere committees right now that are evaluating a lot of requests for tools that come in from our employees. And I won't call out any specifics, but we are building an enterprise approach to a collaboration tool that we haven't had before, that maybe wasn't as mandatory as when we were all able to jump into a room and whiteboard together, and there was just a lot more creative energy in the physical workspace than there is now. I think that any opportunity to bring us closer to our clients is something we're going to be taking advantage of. We're experimenting with several of the chatbots that are out there now. We're experimenting internally with some of just the free versions to get the basics of kind of having a chatbot set up, having it call data, having it give quicker answers. But then I'll just add that the final piece that I think will become big for us in 2021 is taking advantage of some of the machine learning opportunities. So whether it's within RPA or within chat, starting to pilot and test use cases for the bots actually being able to learn as they go, and navigate some of the nuances of some of our more complicated documents we're trying to automate, or being able to understand the ask of some of our chat users as the conversations carry forward. We're kind of, I would say, even in year 2, 3, 4, still at a basic level in some of those regards. So I think that'll be a big advancement in 2021.
Very good. Now, Brandon, you are at the core of product and development, and you really kind of know where this thing is going. So tell us a little bit about what you see in terms of technologies in general, but certainly from an RPA perspective, what's coming down the road here?
Gosh, it's a broad and a deep topic. It's broad in the sense that we recognized a few years ago that RPA, while immensely powerful, is one part of the automation story. So you have to start looking earlier up the funnel. How are we coming up with the ideas to automate? Sometimes it's from people and crowdsourcing. Sometimes it's from automated systems looking at logs. Sometimes it's from automated systems looking at actions. So we needed to push up the funnel, if you will, and expand our product line there. On the other side, you have to push backward, down and look at the results of all of these actions. What type of monitoring are you doing? Right? Do you have real-time intervention? Do you have human in the loop? How are you processing the results of all of this? And certainly in highly regulated organizations, you need to make sure that there's sufficient audit trail. So when we think about analytics and the monitoring, RPA for us and by other names has taken on this very broad definition now. And this is good. Now, it's also going deeper. We just talked about AI and ML, and how do some of these models find their way into the processes that you're building so that robots or people or whatever the case may be can hit those models in real time and have a response while they're on the call with a customer or while they're engaged in the process in order to create additional value there. So when you look at where the technology is going, it's going to continue to expand. And I could easily spend 30 minutes just talking about all of those different areas, but it's going to expand and it's going to consume more of the space that we're looking at. And then within that space, you're going to have more options on how deep you want to go, how much integration you want to have, which I think makes it very exciting, certainly for next year and the coming years.
Very much so. Now, you're seeing product development happen because you're at the very center of that. Marco, I'm curious from your perspective as a user at Morningstar. Tell us a little bit about kind of a summary of the history of RPA and Morningstar and the financial services, automation, and where you are today. Just give us a snapshot of what does that look from the customer or the end user, well, the business user standpoint here.
Yeah, sure. So we started, like I said, a little over 3 years ago, really just by seeing an opportunity for a new tool to kind of enter our continuous improvement space. We've been practicing Lean at Morningstar for a number of years and facilitating good discussions around, the waste that exists in processes, some of the inconsistencies that exist, quality challenges. And, when we learned of RPA, we saw a big opportunity for us to be able to kind of insert that into our toolkit and leverage across all the different teams that we were working with. So we piloted with really just in our one of our audit teams, saw a lot of success with automating some of our processes for putting together data that we do our key auditing activities off of. And then we're able to scale up our license model. We first had to select a vendor. So I'll be happy to say we've had a good relationship with UiPath to date. We were able to, do a vendor evaluation, which is, a good exercise for anyone getting into this space. And even, all the new tools we're looking at now around whiteboarding, collaboration tools, chat bots, anything we can leverage. We're looking at project management tools right now because that's a sore point as well. So always doing a pretty thorough vendor evaluation. UiPath has a good support model, good training. They allowed us to get our feet wet with their kind of initial version. So once we were able to expand our licenses a little bit and start to educate the rest of the business, um, we were able to build a little bit of a program and workflow around a centralized model. So we actually set up about initially 3 or 4 developers out of our global Asia offices. We now have about 10 developers. So building a little bit of a center of excellence once we got more familiar with it. We'll still consider at some point having maybe a federated model where there's more developers at other areas of the organization, but we thought to initially centralize it and focus the coding on a dedicated group of mid-level developers that could take care of all of the logistics and coding activities, while the business really focused on what Brandon mentioned earlier, the ideation process, thinking through, does RPA make sense? Should we automate centrally, or should we use RPA temporarily? What are some of the better processes to automate that are, have better structured data, more frequent, less exceptions built in. So better process identification, and then really marketing it, right? As folks had success identifying certain processes, getting them automated, supporting them ongoing, really telling the story and kind of broadcasting the success certain teams had, and growing it to other areas of the business, scaling up our licenses, and really just kind of rinse and repeat, and learning from different areas teams had success with. We've since been able to expand to, like I said, about 10 mid-level developers, working with over 200 process owners at the company. We're a 7,000 employee company now, but we're really focused on the key process owners that have a lot of the ownership of those manual repetitive processes in the business. And we can kind of funnel the SOP writing and the logistics behind automation through that group. But we've been able to automate just over 500 processes to date, of varying size, but we measure by the annualized hours saved, as well as quality wins. There's a lot more consistency in the way a lot of the processes are executed now, so we've reduced the number of client inquiries or any data inconsistencies, especially with anything that goes directly to the client. So our client has seen wins from it. Our employee base has certainly enjoyed it, and has a much more pleasurable experience when it comes to some of the nasty quarterly processes that we had to build a ton of spreadsheets and send out 50 emails manually, or QA a ton of PDF documents. Removing that from the workflow has been very successful and saved us over 75,000 annualized hours. So we've seen a lot of return on
Wow.
investment, and we've seen, a lot of growing interest really in the past 6 to 9 months specifically as we've hit this environment. So that's kind of a little bit
That's
along the
quite
evolution. I'll just add one more thing, that we also had to get SOX certified. So we've been working through putting controls in place that really help us manage the use of RPA, similar to some of our other key software platforms that, anything that impacts our financials, we're a public company, has to be, governed properly. So we recently got SOX certified as well. So we'll be able to expand to some of our more sensitive areas of the business as well. So a lot more to come.
That's quite a journey, and lots of incredible results that you have gotten there. I mean, really significant results. Rajiv, I'm curious also from your perspective at HP, slightly different business, a lot of manufacturing. You're running finance operations. What is the role? What is the level that you have implemented RPA at HP finance operations at this point?
Finance operations, in
Rajiv,
fact, finance operations was, I'm sorry?
You're good. You're muted there for a moment, but you came back on. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So finance operations at HP actually took the lead to implement RPA. We started about 3+ years ago, and I think we kind of thought about it not just as a automation tool, but really a tool to integrate with our process reengineering, efforts. And we use our Lean Six Sigma thought processes. We embedded that into our process reengineering mechanisms, and created a toolkit out of that, which would leverage, RPA at the right places. Now, we did that for 2 or 3 years almost, I think. And about a year ago, I kind of stood up and said, look, we are done with basic RPA, because we really don't have much. We kind of 30 to 40% productivity improvements over 3 years period, using RPA and related pieces, right? And UiPath has been our partner all through as well. Now, it's been a great journey on that. And then we realized, there's a couple of things more here happening. We now are getting too much of unstructured data. Most of the structured data we are taking care of. So now we got to find answers for unstructured data. So we have to really look at other tools and technologies like NLP, like analytics, Python, and other pieces which we just did not have a very good handle on. So in the last year or so, we're kind of ramping up on Parallelly, HP complete as a company has been a leader in deploying S/4HANA. We are almost at the end of that deployment as a company, right? So we get advantage by that, right? I mean, now I have an opportunity to now rethink my processes for future. How am I going to look like post S4? What additional reengineering opportunities exist? How much RPA actually we are changing along the way? To be honest, I mean, when you invest into something new, and Marco, you might want to note this, you really overinvest in it at the start, right? And over a period of time, we realized we actually had created an opportunity out there to improve our bot utilization. In the last 1 year, we've kind of improved our bot utilization by about 25%, taken some cost out of that as well. So it's good, right? And now we're trying to say, okay, so here's how our operation will look like. Each of our processes will look like post S/4HANA. What is our vision of the future, really? If I could leverage all of intelligent automation opportunities I am aware of and my team is aware of and we are learning from the world, and if we could also bring in more artificial intelligence into it to the extent we think we can do so, we are painting the picture of the future for our processes. And now we'll be walking that path to say, all right, next year or two, you got to be there, which will include a variety of other things. We've just been experimenting with the Microsoft automation suites, Power Automate, etc. We are now working closely with Amazon and Azure for building some cloud-based, automation, invoice automation, paper invoice automation. We have no option but to do a cloud-based OCR right now. So things of that sort. Everything is coming together, and I think next 2 years should be our golden years for our automation journey. From where we started about 3 years ago, that would be a good history.
That's amazing. You talk about not only RPA but a number of other technologies that are playing such an important role in intelligent automation. Brandon, I have a question. Something that has been talked about here in the questions from the audience, but also curious about your perspective. You work with a lot of different industries, different types of companies, and when you think about RPA applications, people think about areas where you have repetitive processes, structured data, so on and so forth. So tell us a little bit about what is a good approach to identify areas where robotics process automation can create indeed the most value? And then if you could build on that and tell us about where is the current state of smart robots, how structured the data has to be. I think there is still a perception that it has to be like these things have to be the exact same thing because if it deviates, it will break the system. So if you can tell a little bit about best application areas that you see and maybe the criteria for that, and then how smart are the robots today?
Sure. So there's a couple narratives I think that make sense in this conversation. And the first is when we look at the journeys of large enterprise customers that have been working with RPA, they follow a fairly consistent trajectory of scaling, expanding, growing within the organization, achieving the benefits that they set out to. And then right now, we're at this very interesting pivotal point where the democratization of RPA, both on the utilization and the development, is becoming a top priority for customers. And a year ago, I think it was a tougher conversation. If you said, well, I want to put development tools in the hands of most employees, immediately you're going to get hit with compliance questions, governance questions. How am I going to control this? How am I going to manage it? And now the conversation is almost flipped. I would say now we're about 50-50, where some of the themes that we talked about earlier, right? It's harder right now to onboard an employee. Therefore, the cost of attrition is going up, right? Therefore, we are putting more into our human workforce. And in doing so, we're seeing all of these upskilling programs and programs geared at enabling digitally our employees to be more productive. And part of that is giving employees the ability to build their own automations, to see processes that are slowing them down, and to automate things that never would have hit the threshold for the COE, because perhaps they didn't give a broad enough return from a company perspective, but at an individual or department perspective, these automations add up to significant gains. So the first, I think, point there is just around the shift from the classic COE to expand into the citizen development and the democratization of automation, and making sure that you've got the governance processes in place in order to make sure that you're doing that in an effective way, in a compliant way, right? And then when we talk about intelligence, in order to have that democratized RPA experience, some of the classic tools that we have weren't the right tools, right? We can't put a developer interface in front of a business user and say, just take some training, this will work great. We've actually created a different profile on top of our development experience that is geared to someone who's never taken a programming class. And we've also put some AI into those activities so that when you click a button on the screen, it doesn't just do what classically we would do and decode the selector or where that button is positioned. Now it looks at 6 different attributes associated with that. What's the name? What's the code? What's it near? Contextually, how is that working? And with that additional AI infused into the development experience, now you can take a business user who doesn't know what a variable is, who doesn't want to know what a variable is, or some of these classic development terminologies, and you can give them things that will allow them to build more robust automations than they would have otherwise, or even using some of the classic tools. So I think you're seeing AI and ML infused into the process. You're also seeing it as part of the process discovery that we talked about earlier. And you're also seeing RPA being able to leverage the AI and the ML models that are being built by those departments. Many large companies now have their own data science or data analytics teams that are building these models, and you can leverage those models in real time. So this is, again, just such an exciting time, and seeing how those citizen developers, the democratization of RPA, the AI and the ML experiences are all coming together into a single focal point is from where I'm sitting very cool.
Very good. Those are excellent perspectives, Brandon. Now, for any of you, Anna Martinez has another question about the interplay of RPA and process mining, and the chicken and the egg type of thing. And she's asking, is it process mining first, followed by RPA, or is RPA useful for identifying areas for process mining? Have you any of you have had experience with process mining and RPA? Do you have some suggestions there for Anna on how to approach that decision?
I can just share, I mean, before Brandon's expert comment comes in. As a user, of course, we have done a lot of RPA, as I was mentioning, and now we have started our journey with process mining. I think there is no chicken and egg. I mean, you can be lost in that question forever otherwise, right? I mean, you got to, when you start automating your operations or your business areas, right, a lot of opportunities just look at you, which could be easily, converted using RPA or other tools, the basic tools, right? And you should just not wait for a comprehensive analysis like a process mining to solve that problem. Second, if I wear my Six Sigma hat, process mining will really expose all those variations from the normal process and more end to end, right? So if once you want to track the variations and then kill those variations, you really want process mining, especially when you're optimizing beyond a point. But early days, when you're trying to, improve your main average process itself, you don't need to wait for a full process mining solution. It is also expensive at times, right? So my suggestion is go ahead, implement your basic automations, keep learning, and that will tell you what's the right time for you to invest into a process solution.
Very good. Any thoughts from Mark and Brandon on that topic?
Yeah, I think briefly, I would agree. It depends on if you're looking at this over the time horizon of a company or the time horizon of a process, right? Because as a company, 100% agree. There's so much low hanging fruit there. You just go start automating, right? And when you look at some of the Lean and Six Sigma things, you now have options. You can reinvent a process, you can redefine the process and automate it. Or for some of those things that are just on fire, you can just automate it as it is and come back to it once you've got a little bit more breathing room. So you've got these tools. And when you think about process mining, I agree. Having the ability to go and the expertise to go and implement, then you layer in process mining, and that becomes the next wave of processes that are coming in. But if you look at it just from a process, single process point of view, you use process mining and you identify something, you can go and implement it, and then you can use process mining again after it's been implemented to make sure that it's now operating the way that you expected it to. So you almost get on a per process level this cyclical or bookended approach that you can take.
Very good. And Marco, I don't know, and maybe you have not experienced both. Have you done some process mining with your RPA at Morningstar, or that's not something you pursued?
We've experimented with it a little bit, but mostly just the free light versions. We haven't gotten into a licensed model yet, and I think it's more from a cost perspective than anything that's kind of kept us a little bit reserved on that and keeping our attention focused, I guess, on some of the low-hanging fruit that still exists out there.
Yeah.
I still think we have enough opportunity. I'm not going to rule it out, but we just didn't, we didn't prioritize it yet amongst our suite of approaches we're working on.
Very good. Time flies here, and I'm looking. We only have like 3 minutes left, and so I want to tackle an issue that has been brought up in different areas. Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge a comment that someone made that I think when you're talking, Brandon, about the democratization of RPA, someone made a comment that as much as we expected people to know Excel to work, now people are going to be expected to know RPA. It's just kind of a natural thing, and that to your point, certainly improving the user interface and making less complex so that you don't have to be coding could be that user interface can really help make that leap. But anyway, that comment aside, the question to wrap up here, and I'll have to be brief because now we only have a couple of minutes, is that there is the fear in the organizations that this level of automation is going to eliminate my job. I know that at a high level we say that listen, this is going to allow you to have more freedom to work on the really productive things. Is that true? And are people really working on more productive things, or people are really losing their jobs in this very difficult times?
Well, I'll share with you our experience so far, right? I mean, as I was talking about last 3-4 years of productivity improvement, we haven't had an opportunity or a reason to ask people to leave, right? I mean, we have been able to find opportunities for them to grow, to learn more, to do different things, and you got to have that commitment in your business, in your leadership, to say, okay, we will allow people to learn more through this experience, and then make sure that they go to the next level of job and do something different. And being a large organization like we are, it helps us. I mean, if I was just a small piece of my own, I would struggle. I think it's really possible. There would always be some who make best use of this opportunity. There will be some who might struggle with it a bit more than others. But it is very much possible, and that's the direction we have right.
That's a great perspective there. Marco, how has that been, from your perspective?
I'd say the same. We look at it as a growth opportunity and nothing more. Similar to kind of our approach to lean, we don't really focus on kind of productivity gains that can come out of a lean effort, more on the client experience and meeting our cycle times and our quality levels, expected quality levels. So kind of, I think similarly on the RPA front, it's more about being efficient. We're in a fortunate position where we don't have to approach it from any kind of mandate to reduce costs. So as we've grown as an organization and added more customized processes. And we've done some acquisitions over the past several years that have kind of introduced also some new processes into our workflow that can naturally create some just more manual opportunity to automate. we've kind of just viewed it more as an opportunity than anything cost saving focused.
Thank you for that. So to wrap up, 15 seconds here, Brandon, nothing better than have testimonies from people who are using the product, right? That they're finding engines for further growth as opposed to just getting rid of people. I assume that that's what you see.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, maybe I can just quote a good friend of mine that I just interviewed. And he said, we've been looking for intelligence in the wrong places. We've been thinking that it's going to come from AI and ML, and this is what's going to leap us forward. And it's not correct. We are going to use automation and intelligence and RPA to take care of the table stakes stuff, the stuff we need to do. And the intelligence is in the humans. It's the human element that's going to take us to the next level of business. So I really think, you know, if you're looking at a cost takeout situation, you've got the model flipped. You should be looking at expanding the capabilities of your people and doubling down on your people, and you can do it through automation.
It's a wonderful message. Marco, Rajiv, and Brandon, thank you so much for sharing your tremendous expertise with us. We're very grateful for that.
Thanks very much.
Automation about that opportunity to share with you their insights, their practical knowledge. This is a wrap up for the main stage today here at BTOES, but I want to talk to you about a few things before we completely wrap up the main stage. First, remember there are lots of activities still going on, so visit the virtual booths and get your $1,000 prize and all of the other giveaways that they have. Connect with each other. Let's connect all together, and I'll meet you again at the 3:45 p.m. networking happy hour. So get a glass of wine if you drink and join us. If you don't drink, get soda or whatever, water, and join us as well. And we're gonna have some speed networking breakout rooms going on there, so we can meet each other, say hello, talk about some of the items that we discussed today. I also want to give you a little look ahead of what's happening tomorrow and in our proceedings here at the main stage. Again, look at your app for all of the tracks and all of the special forums that are going on. Like today, we had the Women in Operational Excellence Leadership Forum. We have many different things, activities going on there, not just here on the main stage. But tomorrow in the main stage, we're going to start at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll have opening remarks around 8:45 a.m. To set the stage, especially if some new people are going to be joining the conference tomorrow. And then at 9 a.m. we're going to kick off with a keynote from the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. They have done a very large transformation on that organization, and they're going to talk about creating, executing, and sustaining a high reliability organization in healthcare. This is a multi-billion-dollar transformation of the largest scale. And we're going to have Jennifer Ford, who is a leader in the Veterans Health Administration, and Timothy Anderson on the Department of Veteran Affairs, who are going to talk to us and guide us through this massive transformation. After that, on the main stage, we're going to have a keynote panel discussion on the secrets to large-scale business transformation success. And that's a really nice follow-through on the Department of Health presentation. So we're having Kelly Pierce from MasterCard, Riaz Attar, and his experience with Caesars Entertainment, and Anu George, Morningstar, and they're going to talk about what it takes to be successful in a large transformation. And so these are very experienced leaders and on transformation, that they're doing it at the highest level. And then after that, later on in the day at 12:45, we're going to have the first of the workshops here on the main stage. And we're going to have a workshop on the wheel of sustainability, how we engage and empower teams to ensure their solutions live on. This workshop may be almost full. As a matter of fact, when I looked the last time, it was nearly full. There are only a couple of seats left. I don't know if there's a constraint on the capacity there, or if they're going to open additional seats, but check it out at 12:45 p.m. because it seems to be a very high demand workshop. At 2:15 p.m., I'm going to have a 45-minute fireside chat with the leader for change, culture and change at Google. Travis Haler is going to be with us, and he's going to talk about the neuroscience of change. If you have never been with Travis before and you don't understand the depth that he has on this subject and the applications he has on Google and many other organizations around the world, you do not want to miss the session, because it's scientific, it is practical on what we can do to become better practitioners and leaders of change. And of course, transformation is the ultimate level of change, and he's going to give us some great insights. And we're going to take all audience questions live during the presentation, of course, as we normally do. And the neuroscience of fireside chat is going to take place at just before we move on to the last big event of tomorrow, which is the awards ceremony. The awards ceremony is going to take place 3:45 p.m. here on the main stage, and we're going to celebrate the best of the best in the industry. We're going to have all the finalists there, and we're going to announce the winners for each one of the categories. So you don't have to dress up too much, but dress up a little bit and show up to the awards ceremony and learn from the best in the industry. The next day, we're going to have an awards winners panel where they're going to talk more in depth about what they won the awards for, which reminds me that all of this information is available to you in the app. You can go into the app and see award finalists. You can see what they submitted the award for. If you look at the sessions in the app, all PDF files, presentations that have been made available by the speakers or sponsors of that session, they're going to be available right there on the app for you. So there will be videos, there will be files, documents. So you can actually see the award finalists. If you go into the schedule and you click on the award ceremony, you see who the finalists are. You're going to see what their work is, and then of course show up to the award ceremony and hear directly from them and the acceptance they're going to have, the acceptance speeches they're going to have, and the celebration we're going to have. And then to wrap up tomorrow, we're going to have the awards after party, and the awards after party will start at 5:15 p.m. Eastern time. And on that awards after party, we're going to break out into rooms with some of the award winners, and it's going to be done randomly. So you're going to end up in different rooms with different award winners, and we get great chance to network, and also, of course, a great chance to hear directly from these leaders and organizations who are performing at the highest level. So, as usual, it's a tremendous pleasure to be here with you. Business transformation, operational excellence is a common passion for all of us, thousands of us who are in this ecosystem. And for me, it's a personal and professional honor to be facilitating these proceedings here at the main stage. So I'll see you a little bit later in the networking session, and have a safe end of your day. Thank you.